Where are you tuning in from?
From Salisbury, Wiltshire in the UK.
Okay, what time of day is it then?
Oh, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Okay, yes, I thought it was, yeah. We don't usually get people here in just because of the time difference, but I'm glad you're here.
I was staying up anyway,
Yeah,
obvious reasons.
yeah. Occasionally I've done Zoom calls to the States at midnight, and it's sort of like, okay, well, it's kind of a weird party, but that's okay, you know? So having traveled in the past, it's sort of, I don't know, there's something wonderful about sharing something from people around the world at the same time. I really enjoy that. Hello, welcome.
Hi, it's just us three.
No, we've got a bunch of people just coming in. I never know if it's going to be 5 or 60, so we'll just give it a few more minutes and then we'll get going.
Right, okay.
Okay, my name is Jean Kropper, and this is Ditch the Dark Cloud, shifting from negative to positive thinking, some practical techniques. Welcome to everybody. I'm really glad that you're here and glad to share this topic because it's very close to my heart. I'm in Sydney, Australia, and this has been a topic for me because I struggled with uh, post-traumatic stress, and my husband became an alcoholic many years ago. And a lot of things in our lives fell apart because of that. And after a while, I found that I expected bad things to happen all the time. I was always worried about what was going to happen next and got into a whole sort of negative thinking cycle. And I really wanted to shift out of that and did some research and also was playing around with techniques that worked for me. So this has come from both my own research and working on what worked for me. So okay. Okay, first of all, just checking in on the consequences of negative thinking, and that actually matters quite a bit. When negativity and worry flood your body, then adrenaline and cortisol flows through your body. That can cause stress, headaches, increasing blood pressure. There's very significant physical changes that marry with your state of mind, and that's why it can have such a spiraling effect. Stress hormones can interrupt digestion, and consequently, many people with anxiety and stress have issues with digestion, heartburn, colitis, nausea, other things can come out of that. For me, I found I ended up with several food allergies for some years. And it was interesting to talk to my acupuncturist, and he was saying, "Hey, Jean, don't worry that these are permanent. They don't have to be. When you change the way you're thinking, the chemistry of your body can change as well, and those food allergies can dissipate and sort of disperse." And I found that that was true. And after a few years, when I was able to shift my thinking, the food allergies changed and then gradually went away. So the impact of your mental well-being can also affect your physical well-being quite significantly. Yeah, and stress hormones also impede high level thinking. It's very hard to do planning, creativity, decision making. And also, because you're looking out for the problems or the crises that you might need to handle, you're missing the opportunities and the joys. So it really does have a significant follow on effect in the way you see the world. Negative thinking and chronic stress are a major cause of disease. It drastically increases your susceptibility to cancer and to several autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, vasculitis, Graves' disease, scleroderma, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, multiple sclerosis, reactive arthritis, type 1 diabetes, and psoriasis. So it's really quite scary when you think of how much simply being sort of stuck in a negative funk can actually very directly affect your health. Now, the brain is actually a protective mechanism, and that when you're thinking negative thoughts, your brain is actually trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe. And so it sort of builds a neural superhighway in the direction of your negative thinking because you've indicated that you want to look out for danger all the time. So that's why it's very easy to get back into that groove of negative thinking and keep following in that direction. To shift that, we can do that. And it's a gradual process of retraining your neural pathways into a positive direction. So it takes a bit of time and it takes a bit of repetition to build that in a more positive direction as opposed in your negative direction. So to flip the good side, by looking at the positive thinking side, you can see more opportunities and reasons to be happy. I had a really clear example of this once when my husband and I were traveling to the US, and we stopped in Chicago, and we arrived late at night with our son, who was 2 at the time. And I was taking care of our son, and I said to my husband, hey, can you just go out and get some food? We've been traveling, our son's going to be awake in the middle of the night. We're hungry. Can you find some food and just, go out and find a convenience store or something? And he was thinking, oh, this is a big problem. It's going to be difficult. I don't know Chicago. And he charged out of the hotel and came back 45 minutes later with, 1 yogurt, a packet of chips. And I was like, this is not real good. Now, the next morning, we walked out the door, and 2 doors over from the hotel, there was a convenience store. And he could have, if he'd been clear-headed, he could have stepped out the front, looked around and go, oh, that's what I need, and gotten what we needed in 10 minutes. But because he was expecting things to be difficult and hard, he didn't see what was right in front of us. He didn't see a solution. He was expecting things to be difficult, and so his brain almost made it difficult in that he didn't see solutions that were there. So it really, and I've surprised myself with this as well when I look around when I'm calmer and go, oh, there's actually solutions that are right nearby. Also, people want to connect with you because you're less abrasive. You're not always looking for trouble or problems or finding fault with people. You're just more open. And so it's easier for people to connect with you and to give you support. It's easier to learn, to think clearly and organize information in your head. When you aren't pumping your body full of cortisol and adrenaline, then it's easier for the 2 sides of your brain to talk to each other. So it's easier to connect ideas, to connect information, to make sense of things. Also, your digestive system does work better. You have more energy, and you can sleep better because your body is more able to let go of your day and relax and to move into sleep. And again, you're less vulnerable to autoimmune diseases. So it's quite a significant shift. Okay, we're going to go through 4 steps. First one is awareness, and just being aware of where you are now and what's going on in your head now. Second is grounding exercises. I'm going to show you a simple grounding exercises that you can do that helps bring you back to the present and out of a worried brain that's sort of churning away. Number 3 is Golden Day Review. That's a technique that I found useful. And 4, I'll explain the multiplier effect. Okay, awareness is a bit of metacognitive thinking, which is a very fancy word for noticing your own thoughts and just checking in, learning to check in and sort of say, hey, what's going on in my head? Am I catastrophizing? Am I making up all sorts of worries that really aren't validated in the real world? Are my brain churning away? And I realized there was a difference between your thoughts and what you do with them. That no, you can't control the thoughts you have, but it doesn't mean you have to jump on them. And I realized that sometimes in the past, when I had negative thoughts, I'd go, oh, yes, I'm scared of that. What if that happened? And instead of doing that, I can just say, that's a bit of a worry, but it may not happen at all. I don't have to jump on or champion negative thoughts when they come up. I can let them just flow through my head and keep going. And it's very possible to have 10 completely irrational negative thoughts every day, but it doesn't mean that they have any significance. It doesn't mean they have any real basis in reality. And And you can also just pause, acknowledge, and just begin to interrupt these thoughts. They don't have to be any big drama. You can just notice. Okay, just need a little water. Okay, in grounding exercises, I'll just take you through this. Sorry, we're just going to go back here, take you through grounding exercise now. Okay, in the grounding exercise, first is just to become aware of your own body. You're probably sitting in a chair. Just be aware of the chair underneath you and just feel the support of that chair. And then notice the floor underneath your feet. And if you can, just push down on your feet and feel the floor, but also feel the strength in your legs. Feel the muscles in your legs tightening and the strength that is there. And we're just bringing back our attention to our senses and where we are now. And then just take some breaths into your nose and just release that through your mouth. Take a gentle breath in through your nose. And a breath out through your mouth. And we're just going to tune into our different senses. So notice the sounds around you in the room that you're in. Are there cars going by? Is there talking in the next room? Is there a pet snuffling around by your feet? Just take a moment to notice the sounds around you. For me, there's sometimes cars in the street. There's the hum of the computer. And also if you have a hum of an air conditioner, just notice the sounds that are there. And then are there any smells? Do you have a cup of coffee sitting on your desk? Or is there a takeaway food place next door? So just notice the smells and the sounds and the feeling of the floor underneath your feet and the chair underneath you. So it brings you back to the present. And then we'll just do a few more breaths in. Breathing in through the nose, slowly, and breathing out through the mouth. Breathing in through your nose, and breathing out through your mouth. And two more. Breathing in through your nose, and breathing out through your mouth. And one thing that's been very interesting, I've read quite a bit about breathing exercises, and some of us predominantly breathe through the nose or breathe through the mouth, and breathing through the nose significantly decreases anxiety by about 17%, and it increases the intake of oxygen in the body, so it makes your body much more efficient. And it reduces congestion and all sorts of other things. So one of the things I've done after reading a couple books on breath work is just noticing whether I'm breathing through my mouth or through my nose, and shifting through, breathing more through the mouth can make quite a bit of difference to how you feel during the day, which is a simple thing, but quite surprising in its change. Okay, another exercise called the Golden Day Step, and it's got two parts. The first I call the hero exercise, and it's just jot down 3 things that you handled well today, big or small. And if you can't think of much, think of a list of just what you've done today. And I've realized that often we can charge along through our days and not notice the good stuff or what we did well. And it might be that you had a difficult coworker and you didn't rise to the bait, or you didn't get argumentative or react. It might have been that you just helped somebody on the train to work. It might be that you had some exercise instead of having some junk food. It could be all sorts of little things, but just acknowledging 3 things you handled well shifts your mind into just acknowledgement and positivity instead of negativity. And then next, a bit of gratitude. And you can't do fear and gratitude at the same time. So when we focus on what we're grateful for, fear and negativity just takes a back step. So we're not doing Pollyanna, everything's wonderful, but just saying, hey, what are the good things that have happened today? I ran into a neighbor on my walk this morning, and we had a nice little chat. The jacarandas are out blooming on my street, and there's lots of purple flowers everywhere, and that's really lovely. So just noticing who's helped you, people who have been kind, or anything that's been just positive. Just take a moment to notice what's been good today. Okay, we'll go on from that. The multiplier step. This is the exponential effect in repeating small changes. So they add up, they multiply, and each of these 5 or 10-minute exercises can seem rather insignificant, and they can sometimes feel like, well, that didn't really do anything. But when you repeat them, you're gradually shifting those neural pathways into the positive. So just taking that 5 or 10 minutes repeatedly, a couple times a day or once a day, slowly integrates those positive shifts into your days, and the benefits really do become quite exponential. They can make a very big difference in your day. And in talking to a lot of people on LinkedIn, I've found that many people who are successful actually spend quite a bit of energy in managing themselves, in noticing what's going on for them, and in choosing to change their state. So, and this surprised me. I thought that somehow magically that they would have it easier, or just not have to do that. And I found that quite the opposite is true. And that, yeah, people who are successful actually spend quite a bit of time, yeah, managing themselves and choosing to shift their state. I'll just end the shared thinking here. Let's see, here we go. Oh. Okay, yep, so just bringing us back together, yeah. Yeah, so I must say it surprised me how much people who were having busy lives, who were running busy businesses, were actually choosing to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm struggling. I've gotten grumpy, or I got upset about a phone call or a business deal that didn't happen," and they would say, "Okay, I'm going to do a breathwork exercise and shift my energy back to the positive. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to call another friend, or do something, dance in the living room to a song and get myself moving again." But choosing to do something to manage themselves, to shift themselves back into the positive. And yeah, it just surprised me, I guess, that people really needed to choose to manage themselves to stay positive and to take care of themselves, and that was an ongoing thing, not something that happened magically. So yeah, and that's the end of my presentation. But I'm very glad to hear some feedback or some comments. You're welcome. We've got a small group, so it's fairly easy for us to have a bit of a chat. Joe, do you want to make any comments? Do you want to add anything?
And just it's great to be reminded about the breathing, because I think that's so often the thing. If one almost forgets to breathe,
Yeah.
and then the shoulders go up and everything just gets worse. So it's really good to be reminded about that grounding exercise and the breathing.
Yes. Yeah, I find square breathing is one of the simple breathwork exercises I find I use a lot. And that's one thing that people who do yoga use, but Navy SEALs also use. So simply just breathing in for the count of 4, holding the breath for the count of 4, breathing out for the count of 4, holding the breath for the count of four. I mean, that's one that I use repeatedly through the day just to sort of clear my head and yeah, bring my thoughts back to the present and sort of quiet things down. So yeah, thanks. Yeah. Ian, do you have any comments you'd like to add? Just unmute yourself so we can hear you. You're on mute. Ian, you're on mute.
Yeah, there we are. I think I've unmuted myself. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes, you have. Thank you. Yes.
I thought that it was all very good and, relative to the world we live in today. My practice is in risk management, which deals with the implications of decisions that we make. So when you talk about consequences, there's negative consequences and there can be positive consequences. So I try and frame up, your approach from a risk perspective and how we can bring that into the customers we work with. But just as a sort of parallel and to reinforce, I don't know if any of you have read Rhonda Byrne's books. There's The Secret, or at the moment I'm reading The Power. And she talks how important it is to have the right feelings. And the feelings that you have can dictate your attitude. So those feelings could be positive or negative feelings. And if you have positive feelings, you tend to have more love in what you do, appreciate more of what you do. So I think it's very synergistic with what you've been presenting, Jean.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and it's interesting because there are some professions like lawyers, risk management, accountants, where a lot of your job is looking for mistakes, looking for problems and anticipating them. And it can be very easy you need for your profession to do that effectively, but you also need time to turn that off in your own personal life or the way you see the world. Otherwise, you're going to go around and always look for problems or dramas or consequences or mistakes. And, we'd all be rather miserable people to live with if we were always doing that to partners. So it's, some professions, it's important that we do look out for problems, but it's also important that we are aware when we're doing that and can choose to turn that off at times. Yeah. Brendan, do you want to add any comments?
Thanks, Jean. I mean, I also, like Joe, got a bit out of the breathing. Remember to breathe. I work predominantly from home, which has a lot of flexibility, however, can be quite isolating.
Yeah.
And sometimes, going for a walk, especially if I'm having a stressful day, going for a walk, getting out, having some nice fresh air, definitely helps. So it's always, I also take heed in what you said about the fact that, a lot of successful people out there, I guess, look for things like that. They recognize that and they seek to improve it. So yeah, it's positive to hear.
Yeah, I thought that was reassuring in that it's not like other people just live happily ever after and it's easy, that they have to choose to think about how they are in the world and choose to manage that. And I thought, hey, well, that's good to know. It's a bit of a reality check. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. And Jay Barrel, would you like to add anything to what we're saying here?
Sure do. I'm sorry, by the way I came in and said, "This everyone that's here." I didn't mean it like that, but it's actually wonderful to have an more intimate talk. I really, this comes at a good time because I got laid off about a year and a half ago from my job at Pfizer. They had massive layoffs, and I have not been able to land a full-time job since, and that's been causing me oodles of stress, and all that coupled with being very concerned about what's going on in Israel and this election and our political situation in the United States has really driven me quite loopy.
Mm.
And then my brother gave me like a really low paying job working for him. And I have like this history with him, and it's been so aggravating that I actually gave him notice yesterday. And I've been feeling much better since I did that. But yeah, no, it's a lot of stress. And it's interesting to think about what you said with the neural pathway,
Mm.
making me more susceptible to those feelings and
Mm.
looking for more of those feelings. And that's a interesting thing to try to fight. I have a friend who's completely crippled right now
Mm.
with anxiety. He's just been hospitalized like 3 times and
Mm.
can't get through it. And it's been a culmination of negativities. And I think he needs more than this, but I keep thinking I think this would help him a bit, because a lot of it has to do with about that negative thoughts that finally just reach over to the breaking point.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's not invalidating that there are very real reasons to be anxious. I mean, obviously you're struggling with a difficult situation. There's nothing that's just going to magically change that.
Right. But also the attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
There are good things that are happening. I'm doing good things,
Yeah. 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 And I found that I really do need to structure my day to occasionally, say, hey, put on 2 songs and go dance around the living room and just get moving and, get positive energy flowing through the body and, choosing those things to do as part of the structure of my day can really shift how I feel. And that you can take some control back from that and not invalidating what's going on at all, but simply trying to work within that in a positive, in a positive framework and sort of saying, hey, I know if I keep my head in a good place, then I'm more likely to, come across as a positive, sane person in a job interview, or somebody that
Right.
another person wants to work with, or friends are glad to stay on the phone because you're listening rather than just griping, and all those things that bring a more positive outlook and make you easy to be around, and that people can connect with you and support you if you tell them what's going on for you, but not in a way that's dumping, but simply being present and saying, hey, this is what I'm dealing with right now, and I'm having a hard time. And then people can come around you and say, hey, I hear you, and be with you, and yes, help you move forward a bit rather than them going, oh God, geez, don't want to talk to them for a while, and that's hard. It takes a certain amount of being a grown up as well to not collapse into it, but to find some sort of balance where you can be real with going on with what's happening to you, but also trying to look forward and keeping some sort of balance or perspective. So, yeah. Jackie, do you want to add anything? I see you've joined us. Thinking of positive
I was just
thinking.
thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Just about positive thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, positive thinking. I was thinking about some of the things I do because I have a very full life caring for my son and working from home. Like Brendan was saying, it is very isolating. Everything is pretty much done in my home. But one of the things I like to do, which kind of tricks my mind into seeing things in my home differently, is finding ways to be creative with everyday stuff in my home. Like the other day, I needed a quiet time. I wanted quiet space. So I decided to make a painting using dryer lint. And it was wonderful. Just being kind of lost in the moment and not thinking about work. And my son was fine, and just getting lost in gluing and painting dryer lint.
Mm. Mm.
So it worked for me.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. Anyone else would like to add a comment? Richard or Annie?
Good morning, Jean. How are you? and other attendees of this event. Great to see you all. Well, I'm that kind of person that needs to overcome negativity so I can experience positivity kind of things. Just because of negativity that I have experienced firsthand and secondhand, and there's a lot of issues, so I'm not going to go into details of that. And it does get private. I don't want to be alive. I wish I can be out of this world. So, for me, I suppose something for me to work on regarding to what I've just said will be like a resilience project kind of thing for me. So I can still have the, stamina to live on this planet and to still do what I need to do for others kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. That's what I would say to it in a general sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks for speaking up. It's perfectly valid to be going through tough times, and there aren't necessarily quick ways out.
Yeah, very unfortunately. I want to get rid of those negativities in the world, but like it just needs to stay there because of how the world works.
Yeah.
It's a lot of issues. I've got my perspective, and I don't know, it'll be very time consuming to go through all of them. So
Yeah, no, I understand.
yeah.
And we don't want to necessarily share all the negative stuff because that
Yeah.
can trigger each other. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do recommend things like the Golden Day Review, where you just sort of say, what did I handle well today? What did I do well? And sometimes, even on bad days, you say, hey, hang on, I did a favor for somebody. I made a phone call. I got 3 things done on my to-do list. I didn't pick a fight with somebody, even though I had a difficult phone call. All those things where you just sort of say, what did I do today that I'm proud of for me, little and big.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, what are the good things that have happened? And, what's from the weather or the dog or, email or, new potential work coming in, what are the things that I'm grateful for? Or what are the people I have around me who I'm glad that they're there? And just taking notice of those things can help shift things because you realize what is working in your life, what is good, and what you have that you're proud of in what you're doing. And sometimes those little incremental things that you do, they do multiply. They do spiral into a good direction. And taking the time to just notice and acknowledge yourself for all those little things does help shift from fear and worry to hang on, there's some things I've done well today, and just cheering yourself on for that. I think that's that's quite important.
Thank you, Jean. I'll attempt to do that. Like, I've been trying my own ways, kind of thing, but like, I don't know, doesn't matter. Just from what I realize in life, no matter how positive you are, the negatives they still exist, and I just
Sure.
I'm a person that's got anxiety and depression as well, so I don't know. Like, it's just I don't know how I can say about it or what I can say about it.
Yeah, and some of that's very real and very absolutely valid, and some of it we can be careful to manage because of where we put our attention, and we can choose to see more of the positives. And I mean, just like my former husband at the seeing the shop, coming out of the hotel and going, there's a convenience store 2 doors away. This is easy just because I'm in a new city and I don't know where things are. Actually, what I need is right here. And there are certainly times when life provides things and they are simply in front of us and we're just not seeing them. And occasionally I laugh at myself and say, calm down, Jean. Sometimes things are right there, and it's not as hard as you think it's going to be. So yeah, just I think it is important to just check in with the positive as well as noticing the absolute valid negatives around. Yeah. Anyone else want to add any comments before we finish?
Thanks, Jean.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right. Well, I'm going to end it there, but thank you everyone for coming. It's been really lovely to see some new people. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to do one more session in a couple weeks, same time, and I'd be glad to see any of you then. But, and feel free to get in touch. Take care. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jane.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
And good luck with ditching the dark cloud and working on positive thinking. I wish you all well.